Well, that said, let me go ahead and give us a little bit of mood and dive right into tonight's session. So, when last we left our brave companions of Circulus Vitae, having escaped the crumbling fall of the temple of the night serpent, the group flew the skiff that they had um, taken with the help of Falstead Nasir, the wounded pilot who had been kidnapped from Halrua, flying it back away from the Mare Archipelago to Halagard and returning to the floating cities to find some of them had begun to congregate into each other's orbits once again. That returning and piloting it back to a sky dock near Syndra's house, and then eventually pulling away from that skydock and just landing it in Syndra's mansion's backyard. The group found succor and rest for after a hard fought encounter beneath the waters of the lake in the depths of the temple. There was aid brought and given for Falstead, who had fallen into a an awful state on the trip back, passing out, giving into the disease and the wounds that he had suffered. Athalion had managed to take control of the skiff and piloted the rest of the way after seeing a last round of visions from the Vash that he had taken. Uh, the final one being a first a image of two wolves battling around Halvar, one light coated and the other one necrotic and potentially undead, ragged and evil looking. And as he shook that one off, he turned back to see the falling of the dark coils around where the temple once stood, and just for a brief moment, what seemed to be the outline of a great dragon with a burning red eye that turned out just to be the reflection of the setting sun before he vomited the rest of his his stomach onto the deck and removed the rest of the drug from his system. Returning to Syndra's place, Falstead was given medical aid by some of the priests of Mistra. The rest of you took comfort and rest there as Lank delivered the unconscious and still very sickly form of Moaxinare to a bed upstairs in Syndra's manse, seeing that she was given care. The group managed to take an evening's rest, find food, recover from wounds, and do a little bit of light shopping in the Kaleidoscope district before the music just paused. Before uh, planning to figure out what was next. Some discussion was had around the visions, the state of Halrua, and the unknown of what the cities would do, whether they would come together once again or whether they would begin to drift apart. There had been no further news from the Halagard and Morvain as they had pulled that city with the remains of the cloaking technology or the cloaking magics of the heavens mirror, as it sailed away to the north and disappeared from all sight, magical and otherwise. The group was deciding on what to do next, leaning towards heading to the north with to follow up on the awful visions that had been had around Halvar and his family and his brother, and the nightmarish scene that Quinn was faced with when she attempted to scry on those persons. But knowing that they needed to head potentially, if that was the next direction, to the north, they would need some cold weather gear and some supplies. The plan was to head back to Baldur's Gate to go to your manor and pull some of the gear that you had purchased back in Silvery Moon some a few months ago. In the meantime, Halvar and Lank went to the Kaleidoscope searching for, looking to shop for more magical items. Halvar in search of a fine blade, which he found, and Lank for odds and ends, as he was looking for something new, um, caught his reflection in the mirror, and the reflection caught him instead. A transformation taking place And instead of Lank, the tall male human, instead replaced by the reflection of who now using the name Lannis, the tall female human. Um, have even making the decision to not look back and let his reflection remain, or her reflection now. Lannis stepped away, and the reflection was lost into the multitude of whatever magics the mirror had. There was a decision on whether or not to purchase the mirror, but it was left behind. Instead, the group came by at some point and purchased a number of potions to try and replenish their stock that had been used. And finally, after gathering what they could and dealing with this new stranger, or familiar stranger among them, the group used Quinn's magics and a tree in a nearby park to step through a portal created by the druid and into the yard of the manor in Baldur's Gate. And it is there where we left things off, and there where we will begin tonight as one after the other Circulus Vitae step through the trunk of the tree, the yawning portal that had begun as a knot and extended and expanded to allow their forms to pass through quickly, one after another, into the soft grass and the cold end of winter's air here in Baldur's Gate. A fine change from the sweltering heat of the jungles that you've been in for the last several days. Um, it's kind of shocking against your flesh, against as your breath catches the air. You can see a slight huff one after the other. You come through. Quinn, the last one behind, as the portal closes, looking around and seeing the sights and smells, familiar and unfamiliar. Your nostrils kind of do a reflexive clench. The shift happening so quickly, and the strange sense of distortion in transit takes a moment to come to your senses. But as you look, it is home, and it is everything you remember. The manor house standing before you, the other tree across the yard, devoid of leaves at this point, the hedges around the front looking a little worse for wear as the winter cold has done its usual. They've begun to hibernate. The front door is shut and locked, and the creaking, swinging of the iron front gate as stepping through it, and somewhat shocked and surprised by the sudden motion to his right, a familiar form, a paladin, wrapped with a cloak around him to keep warm, striding back up the path and into his home. Leonidas, welcome home, and Circulus Vitae, welcome back to Baldur's Gate.
Quinn tackles Leonidas. Giant bear hug.
How long have they been gone?
They have been gone for almost a 10-day.
Oh, okay. So they haven't actually been gone that long, according to Leonidas's.
No,
Okay.
It just a little more than a 10-day, but not too much. I think it's like 12 days at this point. But yeah, it hasn't been all that long. But the whole beginning of that was spent with a lot of worry and concern, and thankfully, most recently, recovery, and to the point where you felt comfortable being able to step away and leaving Xeros in the care of the other priests there at the temple.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
It's good to see you again, Leonidas.
Leonidas smiles. It's good to see you too. Everyone alive and well?
By the skin of our teeth, as usual.
Quinn looks at Lannis.
Yeah, there's as the bodies kind of shift a little bit, Leonidas, you see that the Lank is not there. Instead, there is a very comely looking red-headed woman wearing similar garb to what you remember, and more importantly, with tattoos on her face and arms and a blade at her side that look very familiar.
Leonidas, it's so good to see you. She runs over and gives him a hug.
Leonidas kind of gives you one of these. Lank?
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah, it's me.
Should I ask?
No.
Okay.
It's just good to see you again.
It is good to see you too.
I hope you were successful on your journey.
Xeros is recovering. He We are making some plans now, though, for the temple. It is apparent that he will not be able to continue his duties for much longer. And he says that with a sad note in his voice, almost kind of like disbelieving that day would ever come. But for now, he is hale and hearty once more, and the church thrives.
Well, it's cold out here, so unless you want a real bear hug, we better go inside.
Very good. I agree.
You all make your way to the gate, and the front door is locked. But you each, Quinn produces her the iron key and turns it in the lock with a solid thunk and pulls the door wide. You all hurry inside and close the door behind you. The house is quiet as you close the door. Uh, it is at this point, it's midday, or not quite midday. It's just before noon. Just before noon. So you would expect, kind of the thought on your minds is that perhaps what would greet you is a fine lunch, uh, some of Constance's cooking. There are no smells of anything like that in the air, and you look around and notice that none of the candles or candelabra are lit. The house is cold and dark. Just the light coming through the windows to light the way. Um,
Maybe they went shopping.
When was
Does
the
it?
last time I was there?
this is your first time returning home. You've been
Okay, so it's been 10 days. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Does the place have a dusty kind of musky smell, like it's been unoccupied for a while?
Give me a perception check.
We're home. Vic?
Yeah, Vic is not accosting us. That's a little bizarre. He should have come out.
Yeah, there's no sign of Vic and no response to your call. Lannis, as you kind of glance around, um, there is the thing that there's not like dust or anything still on the floor in just 10 days, nothing really noticeable on that front, but there is an odd something catches your eye. One of the lintel displays on the edge of the staircase that goes upstairs seems to have been knocked to the floor and is laying there on the side.
I'll go and write it.
You stand the pot back up and uh, sweep a little bit of the dirt that fell from the from its lip.
I'm going to go check Vic's room and the hidey hole that I built for him.
Okay. You turn to the north side of the room and you look over and you go to Vic's door and just putting your hand to it, you touch it and it creaks open. It isn't shut, or it was mostly shut but not latched.
Vic? It's Quinn.
There's no response. There's no light in
No.
his room.
Yeah, but that's not unusual.
No.
I'll go check the trapdoor to his hidey hole.
Okay. You know where it is. You push some of the stuff, the detritus, his nesting out of the way and find the latch and you lift it gently up and you see Vic's hoard is still there. It looks just like the last time you saw it. Maybe a little shifted here and there, but seems about right.
All right, I'll
Um,
put things back in order.
I want to check around the kitchen and then up Casey's room and like where Constance and Casey stay to see if I see any signs of like a struggle. Having seen that being knocked over, I'm wondering if they got taken or anything. So I'm trying to see if there's any signs that someone came in and took them, or if
Sure.
that they left in a hurry or anything.
Okay. As Amarin makes her way off to the kitchen area with a bit of a hurried step, Amarin, you quickly to the kitchen. You look around, and there is things look a little out of sorts. Things have been left out. There's a loaf of bread that's molding on the countertop, half cut. Definitely not the neat sort of everything in its place that you're used to from the way Constance runs things.
I'll go
Okay.
upstairs. Check my
Okay.
room.
Mike heads upstairs, and Leonidas does the same. Begin moving up.
I'm gonna go downstairs, check the vault.
All right. Quinn, give me a perception check. Yeah. You hurry with a bit of worry on your on your mind. You kind of race down the south hall and to the stairs and down into the cellar, into the dark below, producing a little bit of flame to light a candle. You do notice, and the rest of you see this too, like normally the candle sconces that are there, they've all burned down and out, and they have not been replaced. All the ones that you guys see moving down the various hallways that you're doing.
Not good.
As Amron then comes out of the kitchen a little bit more concerned. You check the back door and it is locked, and then turn around and head back to the central foyer, and then back up the stairs towards Casey and Constance's rooms. They are, as you get there, they are double checking if I remember. I think they're on the what the heck. Why is my map suddenly missing? Oh, there it
Burn
goes.
down our house.
No, I did not. Okay, there it is. Yeah, it's on the second floor. That's what I thought. So yeah, as it was just taking forever to load for some reason. There we go. As Amron gets up towards just because the Casey's room is at the top of the stairs, you come right off the stair and you see Leonidas heading up to his, and Lank going down the hall to his room. You go right across to Casey's room, and the door's shut but not locked, and you open it, and the bed is made and untouched. No one has been in it for who knows how long.
Okay. So it looks like they got disrupted in the kitchen in the middle of prepping food. When we came in, was the door locked? The front door?
It was.
Okay. Then yeah, I would probably make my way down where Quinn's going, because that's the only other exit. If the front and back door are locked, then the only other exit of the house is down like the sewers.
Leonidas and Lank, go ahead and roll me investigation checks if you don't mind. Okay. Both of you making it to your rooms. The doors are shut. You open them. You take a look around. Nothing seems to be disturbed in either of your rooms. Everything looks like the last time you left it. You do a couple quick checks, look in armoires, under the bed. Nothing seems out of place.
I will then move out of my room and head downstairs to the vault as well.
Okay.
Two.
All right. As the three people who are upstairs are doing their things, so that leaves Halvar and Athalion. What have you been up to?
Did we come in through the back door
Through
or
the front door.
so we came in from the street?
Yeah. Well, you came in from the yard because you appeared through a tree, so you were inside the fence. Leonidas came in from the street, and he closed the gate behind him.
So we haven't seen like the back where the stables is and all that.
Nope.
Halvar will head back there to look around.
All right. So as Halvar heads to the backyard, Athalion, what are you up to?
Athalion will follow the group, but before doing so, like the group to the cellar. But before he does, just wants to make sure he looks out the window to look for any children.
Out the front?
Yeah.
So it would be hard to see from the ground floor. If you went upstairs into one of the upstairs study windows, that would probably be an easier vantage. So he goes up there and goes to the study where you last remember meeting with Syndra and Theodore. Pulls aside the drapes and looks down into the front streets. Go ahead and give me a perception check. 24. There are indeed a few urchins that are still about in the street in different alleys. Nowhere near as many as the last time when before you left, but there's at least 3 that you pick out.
Any recognizable?
Mm, I would say no.
Okay. Yeah,
Even though
then
it's, you know,
no worries. Athalion will head downstairs with that thought in his head.
all right. So Quinn is making her way down to the cellars as Amarin and Lannis and the Leonidas begin making their way down the southern corridor. Can I get the 3 of you to make perception checks for me? Okay.
What the hell?
Yeah. So
Doing
Amarin,
it right away.
worried and in concern, just in a hurry, makes her way quickly to the stairs of the cellar. Lannis kind of following along behind her. Leonidas at the tail end of the pack kind of slows up for a second as you're passing there's a room on the kind of in the middle of the manor there, the kind of a storage space that you guys have never really done it much with since coming in. And you notice that the door to that is slightly ajar. And as you stop and look, there are bits of dirt on the floor in the hallway there near the door and along the southern corridor. Very
It's a
faint traces.
bits of dirt near the wall and in the corridor. Okay.
Near the on the floor of the corridor, near in that passage and near the door on the eastern wall where that goes to the little storeroom.
Right. Okay. He puts a hand on the hilt of his blade and says, "Here, something's amiss here." And he'll draw Daybringer.
I would stop and
Yep.
follow where Leonidas is pointing.
Yeah, Amarin has
me too.
just gone to the stairs and
Is it
Lannis
is it
is behind.
is it dark in here?
In this southern passage, there's not much light because there's no windows here. So yeah, it is pretty dim at the moment.
Okay, so Leonidas will say, "Cover your eyes," and he'll activate Daybringer.
And with that, there is a bright flash of daylight that now fills the corridors of the manor house.
And
As
Leonidas will push open the storage room door.
the door creaks in. There's no light inside, just a few dusty boxes with sheets thrown over them still, seemingly undisturbed from when you first moved in. The You look around the room and kind of squint in. The daylight casts hard shadows against some of the shapes in there, but it's very easy to see that something on the back wall of the room the wall is no longer flush. It looks like there's something back there that
Oh,
Yeah.
almost like perhaps a secret passage.
not big enough for a passage, but perhaps a secret compartment of some sort. Because as you kind of edge in and look and bring the
Yeah.
blade in to shine the light, you can see what looks to be a section of the wall, perhaps 3 feet wide and about 2 or 3 feet tall, is slightly ajar and open as if it was a false panel that has now
Oh.
been popped.
Mm,
Huh.
Had that always been there?
maybe. Uh, go check it out. I'm not sure if somebody took something out of it or put something in it. I'm gonna guess took something out of it, but go check it out.
All right. So as the 3 of you make your way into the room, I'm going to cut over to Quinn, who is already downstairs. Quinn, you create some light into using one of the lamps that are downstairs in the basement, and holding that, you begin to make your way, looking around. There's
What's
uh,
that?
there's a you make your way back around the cellar. The circle seems undisturbed. Go ahead and make a perception check or actually, sorry, an
Oh,
investigation.
you wanted her back.
Got? I don't think he can.
Ah, I see. Got it. Got
What
it.
an investigation.
Yeah, investigation, please.
That I don't entertain her conversation like that.
Right.
14. All right. So
No, he looked. But
as you can kind of begin to work your way around, the summoning circle looks undisturbed. Nothing is off there. You begin to
it
make your way
should
around
look
towards the back.
disturbed because we disturbed it before we left.
Oh, that's right. You guys rubbed it out, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right. So it is in the same state that it was when you left.
Okay.
Nothing new has been
I
done.
mean, if they undid that, that would be disturbing.
Yeah. As you make your way a little bit further towards the back of the space, you see that the false barrel that covers that part of the wall where the secret door, where the secret entrance is
Mhm.
ajar.
Okay. I'm going to talk into the brooch. Say, guys, our downstairs. Hey, Scott, your mic is live.
No worries. It's all it's all good.
um, hey guys, there's our downstairs door is open. Check the lock on it. Was it picked, jimmied, smashed?
So the secret door here is just a secret door. The lock is on the door you built inside the tunnel.
Okay.
You built a door further in the tunnel that had the lock on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'll go check that door.
Okay. So you open it a little bit wider and make your way.
I want to check for like footprints or
Okay.
um
All right. Give me a survival check.
okay.
17. Okay. Yeah. So you kind of stop yourself before going because the tunnel itself is softer earth and not the stone of the basement. So there's a much better chance here that I could see what may have been moving through here. And there are a couple things that you notice. Um, there are still a number of tracks that are faint that look to be three-toed and small-footed.
Like
Uh,
Vic sized?
they look potentially like kobold tracks, yes. And you also see, more concerningly, a number of humanoid footprints that both come out and go back in.
Okay.
With your roll, there's a handful of them. You can't tell quite how many because they're kind of on top of each other. It's not a very large space, and they kind of collide with one another. But
Mhm.
it was you would guess anywhere between 3 and 6 people, maybe.
Okay. Um I'm actually going to leave that undisturbed and let Halvar take a look at it.
Alright, so you're not gonna go into the tunnel.
I'm not going to go into the tunnel. I'm going to
Okay.
send Flit into the tunnel. Sorry,
It's,
Flit. Ah, tap. Is it
um,
like super dark?
it's very dark in there, there's no light.
I'm holding up a light. How long is the tunnel?
I mean, it's what with the small lamp that you're holding is the only light that's going, and the tunnel goes a little direction.
Okay. All right. I want to go to the space that I set aside for like the bunker,
Mhm.
the hidey hole. I'm going to go and check that out and see if anyone's been in there or
No,
anything's disturbed.
that's in the other tunnel in the floor that goes back out to the barn, right? Okay. So
Yes.
you come back out of the entrance of the tunnel and might start making your way towards that to check it. Let me
Yeah.
cut back
And
over.
Calvar, you might want to take a look at the tunnel downstairs. It looks like maybe Vic and a handful of people have been in and out of there. I didn't want to disturb it before you had a chance to look at it.
Okay, on my way.
Okay. So as you're getting that communication, Halvar, you've just kind of made your way near enough to the backyard to see the stable. The stable doors are open. Um, it's dark inside. There's no light, obviously. It's midday, so you've got a lot of daylight coming through. But for whatever the stable door itself is hanging open. Not like it's been
Okay.
broken or anything. Just it's open.
I'll put my dark vision goggles on and look in there real quick, just to take a quick look around, make sure nothing looks amiss before I head down to Quinn?
All right, go ahead and give me an investigation check. Actually, give me a survival check for
Okay,
this. 29. Halvar, instantly on alert and trying to piece together what may have happened, goes into hunter mode and looks down. Um, you see, as you get closer to the barn, it's soft dirt there, the path that comes out from the barn and goes to the back door and goes to the back gate. And as you near, you already begin piecing together a narrative of what may have happened. The door was thrown wide and has come back, and you can see a bunch of large, heavy footsteps that move from the stable down the path and back towards the house, as if someone large was running very quickly from the barn to the house. And given the size and the print, your instinct is that it was Casey. Something got him to come out of the barn in a hurry and run for the house.
doke. I'll tap the brooch and tell the group that if I found tracks that looked like they could possibly be Casey's, and it looked like he was running from the stable to the house.
They're
And how far we'll head down?
also, from you can tell they're a few days old.
Okay, doke. And it looks like they were a few days old.
All right. Let's Athalion, you've now gathered with the group who are coming into the storage space there. So you're at the door as the rest of them are now making their way in. The light of Leonidas's blade lighting the room quite brilliantly. Um, like I said, it looks like a very cleverly hidden panel that was part of the back wall is now standing a bit ajar, like a few inches, like it's swung out on a hinge. Leonidas, as you get closer, there's a glint of something on the floor that reflects the light of the blade. And as you glance down on the floor, beneath that is what looks to be a very large ring of some sort. Like a signet ring.
A ring, a signet ring. A
Yes.
signet ring.
Yes.
I cast Detect Magic on it.
Okay. So you quickly pull upon Lathander's grace, and your eyes glow for a moment as the power comes across your sight. Um, there's nothing magical about it.
Okay.
In fact, there's nothing as you look as you look into the wall and the space and around you, because and I know Quinn did a thorough check of the house with Detect Magic a little while ago. Nothing here in front of you reads as magical.
I pick up the signet ring then.
Right? And you look at it's gold. It's actually of a very very fine making. It's heavy. It's got some real weight to it. The signet on the front of it, as you look to it, is what looks to be cut with one half and then halved on the side as well. So it's three fields. On one is the larger on the left is the outline of a shield, and then a key, and then what looks like a raven are the three icons, and they all have a decent amount of relief to them. They're all carved. This could be something that you would like actually seal wax with,
Right.
or who knows what else. But it's a very heavy ring.
Do I recognize the heraldry?
Give me a history check.
History. All right then. How about an 18?
It actually you catch on to it pretty quickly because another version of it actually exists in the headboard above your bed. This was Godswind's heraldry.
Interesting. This looks like the signet of Lord Godswind.
Wow. What else? Well, what's in the little cubby up there?
As the
Looks
so
like we got robbed.
Leonidas is standing directly in front of it at the moment because he bent to pick up the ring. Um, with advantage, since you have friends here helping you, go ahead and make a perception check for me.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a 20.
Okay. So yeah, as you kind of look up and Lank asks the question and you hold the ring in front of you, your eyes go almost parallel to your where it is right now, and just below the where the this plane has opened up in the wall, there's a recessed divot in the woodworking that, as you look into it, is about the same exact size as the face of the ring. Um,
Ah, all right. Well,
it looks like this was a key that's already been
it's
used.
already been opened. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And there's no trace of anything inside the space.
But you
the
haven't
false
opened it
tab?
up yet.
Okay, I'll pocket the or I'll pass the ring back for anybody who wants to see it, and then we'll open
All right.
the cubby.
You step a little bit to the side and pull the bit of wall away, and it swings on very well-oiled hinges. Doesn't make a sound at all, but it does expose a pocket in the wall that's maybe a little more than a foot deep. It's really the thickness of the wall, which would have made it undetectable from the space around it. But it is that size, about 3 feet wide and about a 2.5, 3 feet tall. It's not quite square; it's a little bit off. But there is um, on the back side of it is a embossed like the wood of the back wall is carved into the outline of a shield,
Mm.
a circular shield with what looks to be maybe the suggestion of an eye on the inside of it, on the center of it. There are a number of hooks that have been screwed into the overall piece, and it looks like things were hung upon them once upon a time, but there's nothing there now. Um, there's also what looks to be a folded piece of cloth that's been folded over neatly at the base there, and sitting on top of it is what looks to be a small chest. Really not terribly large. It's maybe 8 or 9 inches deep and about 4 or 5 inches tall. It's made out of what looks to be steel, and it has a lock on it.
And it does not.
It is
Does-
unopened, and it
It
doesn't
does not
have.
doesn't
Sorry,
radiate magic or anything like
nope,
that. Okay,
nothing in here is radiating magic.
got it. Um, how big is the chest? Is it? Can I pick it up
Yep, yeah,
with
it
one
comes.
hand?
Yeah, it's like a kind of a wide cigar box
Got
size.
it. All right. So I'll pick it up and also kind of turn. Somebody unlock this.
You take hand it over, and as you pick it up, you can see more clearly the folded cloth that was beneath it. Looks like it has some kind of embroidery on it as well.
Yeah, and that's pick that up next and kind of shake it out and kind of try to get an idea of what it looks like.
Okay. As Leonidas is still kind of holding the blade for light, you shake out the cloth and you hold it up, kind of easier to your friends to see as you're holding it up.
Yeah.
It's the tabard. It's blue material, and there is a very elaborately embroidered tracery on the edges of it, and on the center of it is a symbol which looks to be a circular shield with with an eye in the center of it, surrounded by a number of diamonds that are decorating it. It seems, Leonidas, like this to you looks like the sort of vestment someone of an official title would wear. It feels a little ceremonial, maybe not, maybe religious, maybe not, hard to tell. But it looks like something that's
Cultish, perhaps.
not as much. It doesn't have kind of that kind of weird evil. Like, it doesn't scream like, I'm a secret cultist is going to kill people,
Right.
but certainly potentially secret order or
Right.
or order of knights or order. Like, there's a whole lot of
Do I
options.
do I recognize the symbol?
You can make a history check for me if you want.
Okay. Oh man, that 20 just was hanging on there for a second, and
It wanted to, but
never mind.
unfortunately,
I
did
don't
not.
recognize.
No, you do not recognize it. And honestly, you're the only person who might have had a chance to, because this is not familiar to anybody else here. Well, actually, Athalion, Athalion, you could give me a history check as well. Yeah. It looks familiar, but you really can't place it. It's generic enough that it's not jumping out to you, but maybe you saw it in a textbook one time.
I read a lot of books. Can't pinpoint it. Might take some time to do some research.
Strange that none of these, not the box nor this vestment, were taken.
Yeah, it
I'm
looks
not
like
sure what that means.
from the hooks and stuff on the back of the thing, there almost certainly was were more things here that were,
Yeah,
but these were left behind.
yeah.
Athelion, are you the one with the lock spell? Or the knock spell? Get this chest open.
Sure. Coming right up. It snaps his fingers and casts knock.
Okay. So as Athalion releases the magic, it's about that time that Halvar and Quinn have come into the hall as well and are now looking through the door as Athalion releases the spell, and there's Lannis is the one holding the box at the moment.
I guess.
Okay, kind of holding it in your hands, and there's a faint as the lid comes up, and you see as the lid comes up, there's a retraction of what looks to be potentially a needle or something that was part of a trap that was in the lid.
Yikes.
Save some fingers there. I'll
Yeah,
gently open the lid.
I couldn't help but remember the last time you guys tried opening a box. Do you remember that?
You might have to refresh me.
It was I believe it was in hell, if I recall correctly.
Oh, that box. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That well now.
As Lannis lifts the lid, a little wary of what's inside, but it has been safely and successfully opened by Athalion's magics. You see that there's a handful of things in the box. There's two rolls of what look they're cylindrical. They're about the size of a coin in diameter. They're each about maybe 6 inches long, just wrapped in oiled paper. There are uh, in a clump off to the side 5 decently large diamonds that are nestled there. And you see at the bottom beneath the two of them is what looks to be folded parchment that is wax sealed with no marking on it, just a simple wax seal.
I'll turn it around and show them to the group. I don't know what these things are. Well, the diamonds, sure, but else in here.
And Athalion, does Athalion have an eye for like what the value of those diamonds could be?
Pretty decent, yeah. I mean, you're especially given your background with your mother, you would value these at anywhere between Jody, that's on your side. There you go. These are between 60, 75 gold a piece. They're pretty sizable, and they're decent cut. The other thing that actually twigs you is that they're not cut for setting. This is the kind of semi cut stone that is more valuable in terms of trade as opposed to jewelry craft.
What about spells? Well, I guess they don't have any value really much there.
Yeah, I mean, spells just need a particular value of the
Yeah.
material. But yeah,
And
these could.
how many did you say?
There's 5 of them.
5. That's right. Thank you.
No problem. So is Athalion taking those or
No, just keeping an eye.
got it?
Sir, he tells the party like roughly what he would place them as far as price goes.
He'd say 75.
75. I have a good feeling about these.
About these strange rods wrapped in oily paper.
Do they smell like anything in particular?
Kind of lean in, and it's a wax paper, the kind of thing that you would wrap around something to keep it waterproof. So it has that kind of vaguely oily smell to it. Nothing off-putting.
Okay. Well, I'm still holding a sword and the robe, so I kind of don't have a hand free.
Is there a table in this room? Or
There's a
just
couple
keep
of boxes. You can certainly set it down on that.
Yeah, I'll put it on that.
And Leonidas, if you're not worried about swinging it, you could easily set Lightbringer down. Oh, actually, no. The moment you let go of it, it's gonna go out. So no, never mind.
Sorry, I got to keep a hold of it.
Yep.
If I want the light to continue, although we could also cast light on something and
Or light a candle,
or light a candle. Right, exactly.
like those mundane people do.
Mundane.
I'll take one of the waxed cylinders out.
Right. It's got a pretty hefty weight to it, and as you kind of look, you can see the seam where you can unwrap it.
I'll slowly unwrap it.
All right, and you kind of peel back the wax paper, and it begins to kind of lose its form a little bit as you get it, and you realize it's a roll of coins. They're all gold, but they're easily 3 times thicker than the standard coin of the realm.
But they look just like a normal gold coin with the same
Nope.
insignia.
You pull one out, and it has what looks to be an embossed round shield with an eye. It's and it is definitely 3 times the thickness of the coin that's used in Baldur's Gate. It looks to be, as you do a quick count, there's about 20 of these in the roll.
Secret coins, perhaps gets you into entry into somewhere special.
Maybe it's for like a Chuck E. Cheese in another area.
A what? I like cheese.
The wax sealed parchment. I'm gonna take that out of the box.
Okay. It's a series of what looks to be, even as you pull it, Amber, you don't have a lot of experience with this, but you've seen it once or twice, especially working, in the past. Some of the documentation that people use to get into the upper city and whatnot. These are travel papers, almost certainly. They have that kind of official feel to them, and you can't read what's on them without breaking the seal. But it has that. There's a little bit of a um, what's am I looking for? A bit of cloth. Tag at the bottom that looks like a seal, an official seal that's on the inside there and hanging slightly out.
And by travel papers, it's like something that would get you into a place, or something that was used.
A kind of a declaration of really hard to tell without opening it, but it looks like official papers of some sort.
Right. But opening it would invalidate it.
No, not at all.
Okay. Interesting. But I'd have to open it to know what it even does.
Or what's written on it, yes.
Well, then I need to open it.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna open it.
Amarin breaks the seal and pulls them up, and you can see the bit of the official seal rolls off it, and it indeed looks, as you read through it really quickly. These are identification papers, and kind of you hold it up to the group, and um, uh, Athelion kind of looks over as well, and he gives a little bit of these are basically merchants' papers. They are a declaration of identity. Looks like it's for one Cestus Almiran. As far as you can tell, like scanning through it, he seems to be a merchant from and it seems to be papers confirming identity and the permission to do business in
Okay. So I guess we could steal this guy's identity now if we need to go to all right. Don't know why this would be hidden away in a little cupboard unless our former house owner murdered this guy.
Amron,
Weird.
you've got a bit of a con background. Give me an insight check.
Okay. Not good at this, but okay, 17.
I think you are.
17 is pretty decent, and you think about this for a second, and y- it you go to a darker place in terms of how this kind of crap would be used. And if this were you and you had the money and you had the resources, this feels like a get out of town quick bag, right? There's an identity, fake or not. There's money and there's untraceable money in the form of the diamonds. This seems to be one of those.
It's a go bag. Yeah.
It's a go bag.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So what else would you put in a go bag that someone would steal? Interesting. So yeah, I'll kind of tell them that. So with what's left behind, this looks like Godswind kind of had this hidden here as like his get out of Dodge quick stash. So I'm not necessarily sure if this was just where he stored all of his secret stuff and they just left behind the stuff that he had to use to get out of town quick and he had other stuff stored here, or if other things that he would have used when he left town are the things that he stole, but that seems to be what this stuff is.
Of New Moon Omen. What's going on here?
There were things taken out of the closet or the cubbyhole, whatever you wanted, the secret thing. It looks like there may have been some stuff taken. So if there was stuff taken, why was stuff left?
Most definitely. And it definitely speaks to him being a sketchy character if he had a reason to think that he would need to flee suddenly.
I wonder if this is one of the reasons Lady Van Vanpoor wanted this place. Whatever was in here that was taken. But
Definitely.
I'm concerned about the welfare of Casey and what's her name? I can't remember. Constance. Yeah, that's it.
I'm so worried about what's her name.
That's my biggest concern right now as well, is we need to find out where they went and if they fled or were taken.
It feels like they were, if they're not here.
If they haven't come back, I fear that they were taken.
Yeah. Is the vault secure?
All right, and so on that note, let me go back because Quinn was actually looking for the vault. She was not coming back upstairs. So Halvar had joined you in the back there. Let's cut back to Quinn in the basement and the second secret tunnel that she had created. You remove the cap piece for that and drop down into the tunnel and make your way to the midway point where you've created your space. Go ahead and give me an investigation check I'm sorry, no. No, investigation's correct. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. You don't see any signs that anything's been messed with. Everything looks exactly as you left it.
No one's used any of the survival supplies or like been down here to hide out by the looks of it.
Not that you can tell now.
Okay. Well, I'm going to cast my mold earth to access the vault.
Okay.
To pull it out and open it up because I'm broke.
All right.
Transfer some stuff into the holding bag before I go back upstairs.
All right. So Quinn begins to gather her magics and then pushes her will against the stone and it begins to flow in her hands like water. She directs the opening to make itself wider and is able to access and switch around her ill and well-gotten goods to whichever.
They're all well-gotten goods. We already spent the ill-gotten goods.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So bouncing back upstairs, Halvar has joined the group at the door.
Oh, Halvar was heading down to look at those tracks for Quinn.
Right, my bad. So you pass the. You guys hear Halvar come in the back door, which is the other side. It's literally on the other side of the wall where the storage space is. He comes around the southern side of the room. Athalion, from your position at the door, you see him turn and head down to the stairs and go down into the basement. And a moment later, Quinn's doing her thing. Halvar, you come into the basement. It's dark.
I got my dark vision goggles on.
All right, so you get your dark vision goggles on. You go in. You adjust your eyes, and you see the Quinn left the cap to the passage in the floor is currently open, and the barrel face that hides the original secret door is also open a crack, and that's the tunnel that she had said that she saw tracks in.
Okay, I'll head over there and keep eyes peeled for the tracks she mentioned.
All right, you make your way over and you pull the door a bit wider and look down, and it's a little harder. Things are in a stranger relief using dark vision here, but go ahead and give me a survival check. Oof. Okay. Halvard, very keen of eye, stops and just pauses a moment in front of the door and looks at the ground in front of him. And you tilt your head and shift your position to catch the light just slightly differently, catch the angle slightly differently, because you can see that there was motion coming and then going, and because of the small space, it trampled over itself quite a bit. You see that there definitely was what looks to have been a kobold's feet here and there that have been kind of stomped on by several humanoids. You can tell for certain that there were at least 6 full-grown humans that came in to this space, and you see 6 pairs of it looks the same number that came in went out, but you also see signs that make it look like there was something being dragged here or there, perhaps carried for the most part, but there's a scuff here and there that may have been heels upon the ground. Um, you see one large boot print that may have been Casey's, but hard to tell. The size is appropriate. Whether or not it was his, you're not sure, but it was heading in the direction into the tunnel.
Okay, Halvar will follow the tracks as far as he can.
Okay. You begin to make your way into the tunnel, and you make your way all the way up to the door with the lock that Quinn installed. You pause for a second because your first instinct is to go through. It's very clear that the lock had been opened. Quinn had not go through here. The lock itself while the door is mostly shut, it's been unlocked. And you pull it open, and you see the tracks continue out very clearly. Again, following this passage for a while further will take you to where the river crossing is. Are you going to continue down further into that? Because it goes to the small river place where Vic used to do the path out down the river into the bay, and then it goes further on. Well, actually, no, you don't know this. Halvar's never been down here.
Oh, that's right.
So yeah, you come to a door. It's open. You see the tracks continue. Are you going to keep pursuing without your friends?
Well, first I'll open the door and look.
Mhm. And from there, you can see everyone the same signs continue past the door and further into into the tunnel.
Halvar will touch the brooch and tell everyone, It looks like there's tracks of approximately 6 people, and kobold tracks, and some tracks that might have belonged to Casey that head out through this tunnel. Should I follow, or you want me to wait for you guys?
Wait for us.
This is unsettling.
So how about I'll hang out there by the door and wait for the crew?
I'm gonna go down to where he's at. I realize I just
Same.
spoke for everybody, but Amber definitely wants to find Casey and Constance.
Right. So the rest of you follow as well. Everyone's packing up, grabbing the things,
Yeah.
taking the coins and the diamonds. Who's taking what? Or are you just leaving it here?
Leonidas, you saw the ring?
I do.
I'm gonna put the chest back in the cubby box and close the latch on the wall.
Okay, so you're leaving the coins and the diamonds, and Aaron still had the
Oh,
letter.
yeah.
I'd put all that back, and then just we could seal
Okay.
it up. If Leonidas keeps the ring, then it's safe in there.
Okay. So you guys put everything you found back in the box and leaving it open so as not to reset the trap. Put it back into the space, and you're going to close the secret compartment.
Yeah, Leonidas will hang the robe on one of the hooks.
Okay. You go ahead and place it in there, and it seals tight, and it becomes flush with the wall very nicely. Now that you see it crafted along 2 seams of the boards that make up the back wall, it was without knowing it was there. As you push it closed, that small indentation beneath it pops back out flush with the wall. And
How many other of these are in this place?
the fine question. The rest of the group begins to make their way downstairs. Quinn, you've had a little bit of time. You hear the tromping of the feet of your friends in the main cellar above where you are.
Well, and Halvard spoken to the brooch, so I
Right,
know
but
they're headed.
yeah, okay.
Right? So I'm gonna just grab what I needed, put everything back the way it was, and head over to Halvard.
Okay. Are you casting Shapestone again, or are you leaving it open?
I thought Stone Shape lost it. Oh no, I'm casting it again.
Okay. So Quinn quickly gets out, recasts the spell, cleans the wall flush once more, and then scrambles to the entrance. And as the group is kind of making their way to the other secret passage, you look back and you see Quinn kind of pop out of the floor as Leonidas has come down with his blade, casting light into the space. You all stand in front of the secret passage. Quinn drags the cover back onto the other one. You can hear like who's doing what now. You're all standing in the downstairs. You know Halvar is down the tunnel by the door. What's the plan?
What's the status of the vault?
Vault is secure. The bunker hasn't been used. Um, I pulled a few supplies out of the vault because we spent a whole lot of money.
Got it.
Um, if you can give me like maybe 10 minutes before we go trekking down into the sewers, I could maybe try to scry on Constance or um, just to kind of give us a heads up on whether they're hiding or captive.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, I will pull out my mirror and scry on Constance. I'm more worried about her.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know the target pretty well,
Mm-hmm.
and I can run upstairs real quick and try and get like some hair out of a hairbrush just to improve the connection. Yeah. I go look for a hairbrush in her room. Like,
All right.
That sounds good.
Whatever it takes.
Quinn rushes back upstairs, and you go into the room that Casey and Constance share, and it's not too hard to find her hairbrush. It's very neat, and it's almost hard to find her hairs for how clean she keeps things. But you manage to find two or three that seem to be hers, and
ready?
pluck them from the brush and head back downstairs.
Yep. So I cast my spell.
And Quinn sits down on the dirt floor of the cellar and crosses her legs and places her staff across her lap. She pulls the silvered mirror, holding the strands of hair and placing them across the top of it, and begins to recite the words of the spell. Minutes pass as she continues the chant, building up the necessary energy to make the attempt to scry. The rest of the group kind of mills around quietly. Halvar, you're still out at the where the gate is, where the lock, and you can hear Quinn's chanting now faintly down the tunnel. It bounces off the walls. You wait there in the quiet, in the dark. Give me a perception check while you're there. Okay. You do notice, Halvar, as you're kind of waiting, it's hard to see with dark vision, but there's because of your tracking roll before, your survival roll before, um, it does stand out, and it's something you have a chance to notice now that it's paused. There are bits of what look to be old blood that are in the tunnel, just drips of it here and there, but it's mostly just the very faint smell that twigs you onto it. Quinn continues to do her casting and drawing the energy forward, and finally there's a glow that begins to emanate from the surface of the silver mirror. And Quinn, you focus your mind down to it, trying to find the connection. You think of Constance, you hold her image in your mind, and you have the sympathetic bond of the hair, but it eludes you, and you're unable to make a connection.
So either I can still scry on people who are sleeping, right?
Potentially.
Pardon me. Okay. I can try it on Casey. See if I've got any better luck there.
Bless you.
Do we want to take the time? I don't want to hold us back. I
I
looks
don't know.
like it's been a while.
How long has it been since they've disappeared? How do we know?
Halvar thinks that it was like 3 days ago. The tracks that he found outside by the barn.
So you found tracks.
Yeah, signs that I think were possibly Casey's tracks running from the barn, running from the stables to the house.
Did you see any other tracks?
Not other. The only other tracks are the ones down here.
Okay, so you've seen tracks down here as well.
Yeah, approximately 6 people, and kobold tracks, and a couple of tracks similar to the large ones in the stable that I think could be Casey's. So I'm pretty sure they left through this tunnel, taking Casey and Vic with them. And I didn't want to mention anything while Quinn was casting a spell, but I think I see blood too on the ground. So let's hope that Casey did some damage to the bastards and not vice versa.
Halvar, does it look like the footprints present a struggle or just some
Oh,
orderly?
there's something heavy was dragged, so that could be a body.
If it's been a few days, 10 more minutes is not going to make much of a difference. So yes, if that certainly, I think that attempt is worth it. Then
All right. I don't imagine Casey brushes his hair as often as constantly, so I'll just grab like one of his shoes or something.
You-
Also, we should make sure we locked the front door when we came in if we're going to go traipsing around in the tunnels. So I'll go
Okay.
get one of Casey's shoes. Cast it again.
All right. You're able to find a tunic of his. He only owns one pair of boots. Um, but you find a bit of his clothing, a tunic, and you bring that with you back downstairs. You make a short, slight detour and ensure that you've locked and barred the door to the front, and then come back downstairs to your companions, and once again set to trying to cast the spell. The chanting builds, the sympathetic bond that you have with the article of clothing assists the connection. The mirror over time begins to glow, and you lean forward into the silver of the glass, and everything is a tumble of darkness and a sense of tossing and turning, shifting. You can't make a connection to his conscious mind, but there's a connection of some sort. You can feel his presence. You can, yeah, that, that's all you have for the moment. And then you return back to your body. There's a definite sense that Casey's alive, but make an insight check for me. Casey's alive. That's the important thing.
Okay, well, I didn't get any connection on Constance, but I got something on Casey. I'm pretty sure he's alive, but it's dark. It's a lot of darkness and restless. So there's a good chance he's still underground because, I mean, we're midday right now. It was pretty dark.
if he were unconscious, would you be able to see where he is?
I should be able to, um, as long as a connection is made, I should be able to see what's around him, but I don't know. It's hard to say. It's murky. It doesn't feel like it's casting light. There might be interference. I don't know. Not exactly a science. It's magic.
All right. Well, then I think we should set Halvar to the hunt.
Let's do it.
All right.
I'll go lock the front door.
I did that already.
Oh, good. Thanks.
All right. So as the group begin to follow into the tunnel with Halvar in the lead, and Leonidas, are you moving up behind him with the blade to provide light, or how?
I don't think so. I think I would, because the light is really really bright. So I think I would prefer if someone cast light on a stone or something like that, and I douse Daybringer, because if there's anything down here, or if we get close to the perpetrators, they'll know we're coming, kind of thing. I don't want to announce our presence maybe too loudly. We may not be able to avoid it, but why take unnecessary chances?
We can grab some candles from the house or have a torch.
Um,
Yeah, surely we got a lantern around here or something.
Quinn's got the lantern that she lit that was from the basement.
Hey, I've got a lantern.
We're just talking about that.
So what is the order here? Halvar is in the front, and then
I'll go behind him.
right. Are you holding the lantern, or you giving the lantern to Halvar? Where's the light?
Does Halvar have dark vision?
Well, if you have the
I
lantern in the
got
tunnel, that's going to be useless.
yeah, but my actual eyes will probably be better anyway. So I can take my dark vision goggles off if we want to use the lantern.
Yeah, it's just whoever needs where it makes sense because like I have dark vision, so it's
We all do except for Leonidas, I think.
so does Leonidas want the lantern then?
Well, if the lantern's lit in the tunnel, it's going to ruin all your dark vision, right? There's going to be dim
Oh,
light, and the light is going to mess with the dark vision.
oh,
I'll hold your hand, Leo.
Right. So Halvar then kind of taking the lantern up ahead and using it to use his own eyes to move forward. It sounds like Amaran's behind him. What's the marching order from there?
Leonidas will take up the rear.
Okay. So the tunnel's only large enough for you guys to do a single file. So
I'll,
you could
I'll
squeeze
be in
side by
front
side.
of. I'll be in front of Leonidas.
All right.
I'll go in front of Lannis.
So then Athalion behind Amaran. All right. As the group stands, as Halvar holds the lantern just on your side of the currently unlocked door, he looks back and everyone nods their readiness and pushes the door open and begins to make his way. Sorry, Athalion, you have a question?
Before we head off into the darkness, can we all just gather around, like just huddle up real quick? Just come around.
There's like a group hug or something.
Right, yeah,
Like
yeah,
a
yes.
confidence thing. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
Exactly like that. Yeah, come on. So he gestures for everybody to kind of get close.
All right.
Amaran,
yeah, okay.
thank you. All right, cool. Thalen's gonna touch everybody, and he's gonna cast. He's gonna cast enhance ability on everyone for an owl's wisdom.
Oh, I feel smarter all of a sudden.
That in player terms.
Um,
So that'll be at I believe 6th level.
okay, casting at 6th level. So advantage on wisdom checks. All right. So as Athalion brings you all close and then begins to murmur under his breath, there's he pulls a bit of a feather from a pocket and begins to recite the words, and then begins brushing his hands lightly across every one of you in sweeping motions of his fingers, which feels a little odd, but you go with it. And there's a faint glowing, and the feather twitches for a moment as if in the wind, and then there's a faint warmth that you each feel with the passing of his hand across you. And aside from that, you feel a little more centered, a little more uh, at ease with the world around you.
All right, that's enough bonding. Back to the business.
Go team.
And now, kind of reshuffling out into a line, you begin to move forward
Actually,
with.
Quinn is going to shift her position so that she's behind Amaran.
Okay, so she's now third in line. All right. You all begin to make your way through the gate, the lock that was installed to separate your domain in Godswind Manor from the rest of the sewer structure in the underside of Baldur's Gate. You make your way down the tunnel for 5, maybe 10 minutes. Halvar, this is all new to you. You've never been down here before. The rest of you, have a pretty good idea. Well, Athalion does not either. So Athalion and Halvar is unfamiliar territory. The rest of Circulus Vitae, you know what's coming up after just before 10 minutes of walking down the slight decline and turn of this excavated tunnel. Halvar, you continue to see the tracks and are following them. There also is now much more visible with your natural eyesight because you can see color as well. You can see more traces of blood here and there. Not enough to indicate that someone was bleeding out heavily, just that someone was bleeding. Um, you come to a slightly widening area. You hear for a moment before it, Halvar, the sound of running water, um, slowly running water. And you slow up for a second and look, and around the corner, you see the opening of the cavern to a slight room. It's maybe, it's maybe goes up about another foot or so in height. It's maybe it's less than 10 feet on the side. It's very small, but you can see a flow of water, which seems to be part of the sewer, not a main part of it, but just an offshoot of water that has come through here, and it comes out to a slight widening, and then there's an iron grate there that the water flows through, and then deeper into the wall, disappearing into the rock face. The tunnel does continue on the far side. The rest of you, Halvar, to you, this is a surprise. The rest of you recognize this as the place where Vic would come to do his smuggling or whatever it was that he was doing on behalf of Gerald Godswind.
However, I'll see if he can pick up any signs on the other side of the water.
Right. So the rest of the group kind of comes up a bit, and Halvar holds you off and begins looking. And I'm not going to make you re-roll because that 32 was pretty phenomenal. So as you kind of pause the group and look, you can definitely see that the tracks, these individuals hopped the water and continue on the far side. And just as you're straightening, you look off to the side, and there is on the far wall across the water and away from where the passage continues, there's a faint shift in shadow against the wall, which gives you pause, like a strange formation, not like a person, but an irregularity with the wall of the tunnel.
Halvar will go up to that wall to investigate.
Right. The rest of you see Halvar jump over the small stream and move over to the side. So the next two, Amarin and Quinn, are the ones who can now come into the space a little bit and see what's going on. As Halvar, you look over, and there is what looks to be a very cleverly disguised um, bit of tarp or canvas or something that's been covered in mud and has been formed against the side wall. And as you look, kind of take a bit of a knife and go to the side and look at it, and it is concealing what looks to be a rough-hewn passage.
Did the tracks that we were following head towards this passage, or did they continue down the tunnel?
You stop for a second and check the ground, and you keep a hand up to keep the rest of your party away to not disturb the ground. And you see the humanoids continuing going um down the main passage towards the sewers. But what you see here looks to be indications of a couple of droplets of blood and kobold tracks.
Hmm. It looks like they split up here. Cobalt tracks head into this cleverly concealed tunnel here, while the rest of the tracks continue on. And I don't see any like human tracks that go towards it's only the cobalt tracks.
Yes.
How
And
how big is that passage?
Um, hold that question, Halvar's first. Um, give me one more survival check just for this. Leonidas, hard to tell without getting up to it, and 24 is enough. Halvar, there's one faint side track, indentation in the mud that may have belonged to Casey's boot.
That goes towards the
It
rough
goes
hewn.
towards the rough hewn section. Leonidas, it's hard to tell with how far they're looking at it, but it's the section of the place he's looking, it's roughly humanoid size. It's definitely.
It was actually a question to Halvar
Oh,
because
go for
I
it.
know I couldn't see it from where
Yep.
I am
Yep,
currently.
go for it.
Yeah. So
So Halvar, feel free
sorry, I didn't say Halvar. How big's the passage? Is it
it's all
human
good.
sized? Can we go through it?
Halvar,
Is
it
it
looks
single
it,
file?
if you were to peel it up, it looks like it's large enough for the taller of you are going to need to stoop, but it is wide enough for a person to get down. It's maybe 2.5, 3 feet wide and about 5 feet or so, 5.5 feet tall. So you're all going to be crouched a little bit going down there, but as you kind of pull back and look a little bit with the light, you can see that the tunnel descends very gently in a similar direction, but kind of divergent to the main tunnel that is there's people went down.
This
Okay,
tunnel was cleverly concealed, so
so here's my thinking. If we're making a decision on, okay, it looks like humans went one way, kobold went another. Well, okay. If we rescue Vic first, we need to send him home immediately because we can't bring him further in with us.
Halvar said there might be prints by Casey
yeah, I see
along
another
Vix.
another boot print that looks like it's similar to the boot prints that could possibly be Casey's.
Right.
So maybe they took the. I'm thinking that the obvious tunnel might be a diversion to lead us the wrong direction.
Okay.
Well, they took Casey and Vic down this concealed tunnel.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Unless we want to split the party and pursue both tracks.
Nope.
No thanks.
Havar will tear the or push the tarp aside so we can enter the tunnel.
Okay, you begin to move it, and you can see that it's actually there's a very rough but pretty cleverly cobbled together lattice of pieces of thin wood that the tarp is strung over to help give it structure. And you kind of pull that aside, and you see, like I said, it's a pretty tight fit. And as you look into it, these are rough walls. It looks like this has been a dug tunnel. It doesn't have the more refined work that's been done on the rest of the shaft, the other passage that was here before. Um, and you see scuffs along the entry walls that might indicate something or someone large tried to make its way or made its way down through here, perhaps with a little help.
Hmm. Looks like somebody bigger than a kobold's been through here before us.
Casey fits the description.
Havar will step in and keep following the tracks.
All right. So as Halvar crunches down and begins to make his way with the light down into the tunnel, the rest of you fall in behind, and you begin to make your way through, um, feeling just a little claustrophobic as you go. But the tunnel uh, goes and descends very gently and begins to wind and shift, looking like it's uh, it potentially avoiding or moving with easier earth. You can see that the tunnel sides have kind of been clawed out as opposed to dug with tools, and you continue to descend. A few minutes of travel in this uncomfortable state, and Halvar, I need you to make a dexterity saving throw for me.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Nailed it.
So there's you're making your way through, and you're shuffling. You place your foot down, and you feel something that doesn't quite feel like dirt beneath it. Uh, that something was covered with dirt, and you kind of feel what might have been like a metal plate buried in there. And as you begin to push, you feel your weight slip a little bit as that mud skirts along the metal bit, and immediately drop the lantern and throw your hands to the side of the tunnel, kind of gripping the walls, preventing yourself from skirting forward as your foot goes out ahead of you. There's a tink, 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 and you see a series of pulleys and ropes spring out from tension on the side walls that pull free of mud spattering it, and then there's a shattering of what seem to be small glass flasks that crack against the walls and the dirt of the floor. Um, and there's a second where from the top of the chamber, a sound of something flicking across, striking a flint, and a spark descends almost in slow motion in front of your face. It catches the sides of the tunnels as fire races down the shaft for a short distance where you just barely prevented yourself from falling into.
Ah,
The flame, like the heat immediately washes against your face and you feel some of your beard singe from the proximity of it. But you manage to avoid the flames, and almost like within a second of the flare up, the flames extinguish themselves as they expend the small amount of oil that was in the flasks.
that was a close one.
Everyone else beside Halvar just sees a massive flash of orange red light that basically halos his dark figure for a moment. With Amarin, you're like the second right behind him. You can feel the heat as well of the fire.
I'm back here ready for battle.
Keep
Watch
your
your
eyes peeled for traps.
Yeah, watch your step there, bud.
Are you all right?
I'm okay. Barely dodged some kind of flame oil trap.
So you pick up the lantern, which has fallen on its side, and kind of bring it back up and ensure that the oil in it is still secure. The glass hasn't broken. You fix the shutter and have your light source once again ready, and exhaling for a moment, continue to creep your way down the bit. You shuffle past the rope and pulley system, which now is fully exposed after being sprung. It's rickety and cobbled together, but fairly ingenious in its execution and simplicity. Uh, you
Effective.
real Yeah, if you had been a little less wary, a little less nimble, you may have been in a great deal of pain. But undaunted, you continue to lead your group down, and eventually the tunnel curves and then comes to a switchback, and things open up a little bit, and you begin to hear um, a chattering from down below, a strange bit of quietly whispered noise. And I'm curious, do any of you speak Draconic? Amarin does.
I believe I do, yep. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do not. I thought I did, but
No.
that I think it's a different character.
But Amarin is the second in line, right behind Halvar, and Amarin, you begin to hear this strange hushed noise. You recognize the words, and there's something to the effect of "Something's coming! Quick, hide, tell."
Do I recognize it as being kobolds? Because I've met and spoken with kobolds before.
Yeah, it sounds an awful lot like kobolds.
Okay. I will hushedly guys, I hear some kobolds up ahead. They hear us coming and they're hiding from us. How far ahead do they sound?
You would guess no more than 15, 20 feet from right around the corner up ahead.
Yeah. They're just up ahead around the corner. I I don't know if they're going to try to jump out and attack or if they're just trying to not be seen, but they're going to be hiding around the corner. Just so you know.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Well,
How far
I
we'll
mean,
try to move silently.
we know Vic came this way, right?
Well,
Mhm.
you know, a kobold
Well,
came
cobalt
this way.
tracks.
Okay, a kobold who has been sneaking in and out of the back door of our manor for some time came down this tunnel.
It didn't sound like Vic, though, right? It just sounded like.
Give me an insight check.
Okay. Oh, I have advantage now, right? Or because it's wisdom.
Is that's a saving throw, right?
Oh, it's just on wisdom saving
No,
throw.
it's on wisdom checks. You know, anything.
X.
With
Yep.
Yeah,
checks.
so advantage.
Nice.
Yep, go for it.
9.
Yay!
That was
Um,
with advantage?
What a
Yeah,
waste.
I have a +0. It's not great.
It's a kobold.
All right, this is a kobold. It
They
might
all-
be Vic, it might not.
They all
But
sound
he's-
alike.
But since he's speaking in Draconic, he would be speaking to another kobold if it is Vic. So there's more than one kobold down here, I would imagine.
Yeah, and there's definitely two voices that you heard talking back and forth to each other.
Yeah, so
Quinn's
if it is Vic, there's another kobold involved. So
Quinn's just gonna call down the hallway. Vic?
what? Oh,
Vic,
God.
are you there? It's Quinn.
As Quinn leans over Emeron's shoulder and just starts shouting. There's a
We're looking for Vic. He's our friend.
there's
Dick
a
rule.
there's a moment's pause, and then there's another back and forth kind of hushed whisper, and Emeron, you basically you hear one of them say, "Shush! If we don't say anything, they don't know we're here."
I'll call out in Draconic. I can hear you guys. You're not very quiet.
you, you hear a slight startled shout, and then there's a moment you hear a bunch of skittering, and then from around the corner you see a red-skinned, small, draconic-looking kobold head and the tip of a sharpened stick glance around the corner. It is not Vic. It is a kobold. It is perhaps a little bit smaller than Vic, and
We don't want to hurt you.
it shouts me. You in Draconic. Who are you?
Do you speak common?
You're muted.
Who's muted?
I'll speak to them. We don't mean you any harm. We're just down here looking for our friend. He's a kobold like you guys, so we thought he might be down here.
Friend. And
yes.
Protector.
Do you know Vic?
There's a kind of a skittish pause, and then it steps around the corner, and you can see it fully now for those in the front, Halvar and Amarin and Quinn just barely. It's a kobold. It's not wearing any clothes. It is au naturel. It has what looks to be maybe a 2-foot length of stick that's been sharpened and fire hardened at the tip. And it looks up at Amarin very suspiciously and then says, "You friends of Protector?"
He lives with us, and we give him shinies, and I know he does a lot of uh, hunting for food. Does he bring you guys the extra food that we know he grabs?
Protector brings food.
Ah, so that's why he's always grabbing extra.
And there's a bit of you hear something behind him whispering, and it turns its head for a second. It looks back at you and looks back, and then put down all pointy sharp things.
Is he Us or to them?
He's asking you all.
Okay. I'll tell the group, guys. Can you guys put your weapons down? Just put everything down. They're friends of Vic.
Halvar will sheathe his short sword.
I'll put all my stuff away as well.
I just have a stick and it's not even sharp.
There's a kind of a wary, and you see another kobold head come around the corner and kind of stare at the group and then pop back out of sight and then stare at the group and pop back out of sight. And the one with the stick finally says, "Come, we take you to Protector. If you do any bad, we will do big bads back upon you."
Okay. But yes, please take us to Protector. We want to make sure that he's safe. We're worried about him because he's not at home.
All right. So with that, he kind of straightens up to his full kobold height, which is literally like less than 2 feet tall. He plants the butt end of the spear and then waves a little hand officially, like this way, being very, very uh, proper about his guarding job here. And he goes and turns back around the corner and begins to wait. Doesn't he wait for you to follow? He just turns and makes his way around the corner.
Yeah. I'll tell the group. All right, we're following them. They're going to take us to Vic.
Okay.
I'll ask him. Do you guys speak common so that my friends can understand you as well?
Protector speaks. So does Roar. And with that, he has disappeared from sight. You guys follow along behind as Halvar kind of makes his way behind it. The passageway turns and widens a little bit. And you can see now that there's a larger space that seems to be carved out as what you're guessing is the best intention of a guard room. It is large enough for there's 2 kobolds now that are visible, the one with the spear and another one he's ducked behind a little wooden barricade off the side, and there's a number of sharpened sticks that have been poked out of it, and more concerningly, what looks to be 2 or 3 crossbows that are all rigged up with levers and pulleys, and he's standing there with a lever in his hand with a bit of a manic look in his eye.
Halvar holds up his hands.
Right. The first one in Draconic continues to say, "Come, come, come, no shoot!" And he points to the other one. The second one is like, "But I really wanna." It's written all over his face. But he leads the group past the very trigger happy looking other kobold down as the passage continues, and you can see there's a what looks to be a door that's been made of rough woods, rough planks that have been constructed together into a door, and he pulls that aside with a it has no hinges. It's literally just a effectively a wooden barricade that's poured up against it, and he gestures you inside, and you can, as Halvar, you make your way in. The tunnel opens up into a room which is very nicely built. It's obviously they've broken into something down here. It is tiled floor and stone wrought walls. This antechamber is covered in dirt and piles and rags and all kinds of things that have been poured on top of it. But it looks like it once was a relatively nice antechamber. There's a staircase that goes up and off to the left, which looks like it may have been the proper entrance to this space once upon a time. The kobolds have broken through the wall and in this space have begun to use it as a warren or a den. You can see another staircase that descends down to the left. There are 2 other kobolds who are sitting in different piles of nesting space here. They look a little worse for wear. You can see very obviously on them that one of them has a number of old healed up scars across his chest, and the other one has a chipped beak. And they look at you guys warily as you come in. But the first one is starts calling out "Protector, Protector" in Draconic. none of the rest of you have any idea what he's saying, but Amarin, you know he's calling for someone in
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah.
The lot of you step into this space, and it's nice to be able to actually straighten up again. This was obviously crafted by human hands. The ceiling is 10 feet high, fitted stones, buttressed walls. You can see the staircase descends, and there's light all throughout this space. A number of torches are lit that provide light for everyone to be able to see without an issue. Halvar, you douse the lamp for a second and hook it back to your belt. There's a bit of a commotion as the furthest of you in can look down the staircase, and you see a number of what looks like another room further down, which is much larger, which is also now covered in what seem to be pallets and rags and bits of hay and just a absolute chaotic arrangement of detritus that has been formed into a home. Not the kind of home that any of you would be comfortable living in, but it is basically a kobold slum. And you see a number of kobolds that are milling about, easily a dozen within sight. Uh, and they begin to kind of part to the side, and you see as the Halvar and Amarin and Quinn being the closest ones up in the middle, the rest of you kind of file in now, look down, and you see striding up the center of the room and towards the stairs, the chest puffed out figure of your manservant Vicarul, who has a very nice looking blue sash that has been tied around him, and he is wearing what looks to be a dagger on a belt that is way too big for him. He strides purposefully up the stairs and says, "Where have you been?" And that's where we'll take our break for the night.
It's like a kingpin now.
I love it.
It's just about 9 o'clock. We'll hold there until 9:15 and regroup
great.
then. All right. See you all in a
Alright.
bit. His master was one of the below people.
Okay. Where did Casey go?
Casey tried to stop them. He very angry. Tried to save Constance. He chased. They hurt him. They hurt him lots. They could find him almost dead. Vic and his people bring Casey here.
Is he okay?
Give me an insight check.
It's a 9 because of the advantage.
It's true. It's a 9. Your worry for Casey's kind of overshadowing any small details that might be coming up right now, but you can see all the kobolds around are kind of slightly cowering. They are very much looking to Vic, and they don't know how to treat you. It's really because he's there talking with you that they're not in a panic.
Mhm.
You can make out that much as a group. Vic kind of screws up his little beaky face and says, "We're help, taking care best we can. I'll show you." And he turns and begins to walk back down the stairs and into the main hall down here. And he leads you up to the chambers, the door here, which he opens, and you can see beyond it as you all kind of file in and follow behind him. This looks like, I'm sorry, the southern one, not the northern one. Boop.
Oh.
I know, right? I fooled you. I fooled you all.
Ah.
he opens the door here, and you can see that this is I've been set aside as what looks to be a single chamber. There is a number of things around that look like they have been collected or perhaps given in tribute. Really hard to get an instant read on this, but there are kobold treasures all over the space. But there's also what looks to be a large pallet that has been built in the side, and lying upon that pallet is the form of Casey. He's splayed out. His shirt is mostly ripped open. His pants are still on. His boots are still on. Um, he is his eyes are rolled back into his head, but you can see them fluttering barely. The more disturbing thing is that there are a number of what look to be syringes and tubes stuck into his body all over the place, with a variety of drip jars and small vials and weird mad scientist looking shit plugged into him.
What in the name of the Morning Lord?
For
I'm
help.
getting an infection down here.
What do you have is one of your people a doctor? What is this?
Roar is maker. Roar, make him better.
Is he getting better?
Mm, he not
May I-
dead.
May I approach his bed?
And he steps aside and just waves like, you know, you can tell at this point, like especially as the rest of the kobolds have kind of fallen back into the main chamber, staying in there as you guys pile into the room. Um, as Vic now is in a private space with you guys, you can much more easily see he's frightened and worried and all kinds of barely keeping it together.
Got it. Leonidas will kneel by Casey and just he takes kind of a look around at the tubes and vials and syringes, and he shakes his head and then gently places his hands upon Casey's body and uh, uh, puts in 30 points of healing from his paladin pool.
Okay. So you pour a significant amount of power as you grasp your holy symbol and pray to Lathander for your friend's safety and health. There's a glow of golden light around the paladin's fingers as he touches Casey's chest, and that warmth suffuses into his skin and kind of ripples out from the points where Leonidas' hands touch. And you see Casey's body kind of shake for a second. And as it does, all of the miscellaneous jars and whatnot begin to like jingle and rattle and whatnot from his motions. And Vic starts making a very agitated noise, but he stops after a second, and his eyes flutter, and he looks up and Mr. Leonidas, they
Don't
took her. They took
easy,
Constant-
Casey.
Where?
We
And
know
he
she's been taken. Easy.
and you keep a little bit of pressure on him to keep the larger man still. More partly to keep him from hurting himself, but also from disturbing the crazy network of shit that's plugged into him and potentially doing more harm.
Right.
And he's he's Ren. Is Ren with you? Is
Yes, she's here.
I'll come in there.
Ren,
Casey, I'm here.
Ren, they took her.
I know. It's not your fault that she's gone. You did what you could to stop them.
I tried, but they were. It was. I'm not like you, Ren. I'm not strong.
You are strong, but you were not trained to deal with the people that came in to take her. You were one person, you were overwhelmed and outmanned. That's not your fault.
The devil-looking one. I shouldn't say it because he's like her and he's her people, but he not like her. He looked evil. He looked like the devil himself, and he's and his whatever it was, the thing he called Lord, the thing uh, it, it was horrible. It floated. It didn't walk. It floated.
He floated.
It didn't touch the ground. But it's tall, awful looking thing. Purple skin with face like some kind of tentacled beast.
Oh shit.
Hey, yikes. Okay.
Does Leonus
You
know
know
what
what this
that
is,
could be?
Leonidas?
Sounds infernal.
I know what it is out of.
Give me a religion check. I'm gonna see how well your church taught you about these dangers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, you've
Baldur.
it sounds horrible and it sounds absolutely evil.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I don't
Oh,
think
God.
any of the rest of you know what this is.
Sounds
Though
gross.
I'm not sure a number of the players do.
It's bad.
All right.
All right. Well,
It was
what we need to worry about is getting you feeling better and getting you safe. And we're going to track her down and we're going to get her back.
he
But
starts to try and sit up again and Leonidas continues to
no,
hold him. And there's that shaking right and he finally looks around and says, "What the hell?"
look, Vic and his little kobold friends have been trying to take care of you, but I don't think they understand human anatomy or medicine, so I don't know what these things are. They probably shouldn't be in you.
There's
Maybe Quinn can help get you healed back up a little bit better and get these jars out of you.
you hear a shaking, rattling, flapping sound that comes from behind through the door, and you kind of look back at that, and striding through the throng of kobolds who are kind of outside the room who begin parting ways is another kobold who's slightly larger than the rest. Almost he's a little bit bigger than Vic, but not really muscular. He's just size-wise a little bit larger. The more impressive thing is the sheer volume of ropes and bits of thing that are strapped all over him, including what looked to be a completely rickety set of wooden and cloth wings that he has strapped to his back. And this kobold, who has a series of black marks across his red skin, comes tromping through the room and says, "What touching? No touching the thing. What? Who are you people? Why?"
Okay.
And Vic looks over and says, "We're no friends, new masters, friends." And they're both saying this in speaking in common,
Oh,
as
he speaks common.
he's
Okay.
speaking in common, broken common. He doesn't have. I mean, even Vic doesn't have fluency, but he's worse. But he's very delicate, important, healing, energy, flow, strength, good, no touch.
I'm going to speak to him in Draconic because I can tell he's struggling with the language. I really appreciate you helping my friend, but oh jeez,
Apparently, George needs some help. He just fell over.
you good?
Oh,
Those darn cats.
oh shit!
I really appreciate you helping my friend and keeping him alive down here. But my friends Quinn and Leonidas, they have good healing abilities as well, and kobolds and humans work a bit differently. And I think maybe give them a shot at this. I'm not sure that I think you've done a good job, but I think maybe kobold anatomy and your medicines aren't going to be as effective on a human. So we may want to take these out and maybe turn over to Quinn here and let her heal him up.
Give me a persuasion check.
And while Leonidas was working on Casey and before Roar comes in, Quinn had knelt down in front of Vic and was mending his stuff and cleaning him up like she always does. Vic, I am so proud of you. You helped Casey. You did a great job. You are so brave. You are so good. And just kind of bolstering his confidence and letting him know he did a good job.
Okay, so as Quinn begins doing that, Amarin is giving this long spiel in Draconic to him, and you see he's first not paying attention, and then he notices you speaking Draconic, and he turns over, and as you continue to talk, his little eyes just keep going wider and wider and wider, um,
No.
and until he as you finally reach a point, he says, and he speaks in Draconic, and ironically, when you start listening to him, he sounds very different. My dear, you are exceptional. You are amethyst like the finest dragon I've ever seen. I don't know where you come from, but you are most welcome in our house. He is exceptionally well spoken in his native tongue.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Maybe I'll come down and visit you guys every once in a while. I live just above the home you've made for yourself here.
Well, I believe that we can do something for this plainness that you currently wear. We need something more appropriate for someone of your stature. Come, let me. You can just pull those out. He tells Vic, and then turns back over and says, "Let me show you around. It would be my delight." And he takes your hand and he begins dragging you from the room.
I need to probably stay with my friend. He's a
Oh,
close
he'll
friend
be
of mine.
fine. He'll be fine. He has the best care. And it seems that your friend is doing some kind of magical thing to him right now that I don't understand. But that's fantastic. Come, let me show you my place. And
What the hell? What the hell is happening? Where is he
He's
trying
hitting
to
on
take
you.
What did you
It's like
say
you're-
to him,
you're
Amarin?
your catchings.
everyone else just hears him babbling in Draconic.
um this is honestly kind of amusing to her. So, but I definitely don't want to leave Casey. So I'm not gonna go with him. But maybe I really do I really do want to see the place. But I really can't leave Casey. I'm so can I rain check? Can I come back down here in a maybe next week sometime? And you can give me the full tour.
He has his little clawed hand around yours, but you just stop and like he like dead stops because you're not moving and you weigh
Yeah.
a hell of a lot more than he does.
Yeah.
In full plate armor. So he's like, oh, well, I suppose if it's important for you to stay here right now, how can I say no? Please make yourself. This is the great protector Vicarul's chambers. I'm sure he would not have a problem with you taking the finest seat. And he points to a little wooden stool in the corner.
Oh, well, thank you very it's an honor. It's truly an honor. Thank you again.
And so, let me. I will see to your friend. One moment, and he turns back, and then to the rest of the group, he says, "Move. We'll take care of this." And he walks over to where Casey's standing, and Casey kind of gives him a wide-eyed look, and he just the roar, this kobold stops and looks at him and says, "Clench teeth," and then reaches down and begins yanking things out of Casey's body. Casey like gasps in a moment of pain before he clenches his teeth and bites down on it, and with a really quick series of motions, all of the needles and tubes and whatnot begin getting pulled and tossed around the floor, clinking and rolling on the stone. Some fluids that you don't recognize and maybe don't want to kind of splash onto the surface, as he's not the most careful individual as going about this. But after a few moments, the last of the the last of the large needles, which is stuck into his, his neck right here, just comes out with
Oh.
an awful sucking sound and a bit of blood that pours down his chest. And Casey's like,
And then Leonidas's hand is on the neck, and Cure Light Wounds is cast.
all right. With that, Leonidas puts a hand down as the other kobold backs up and watches as the healing energy flows. Ver looks at Vic, who's being pampered by Quinn at the moment, and says simply in Draconic, "Cheating." Vic is being pampered by Quinn, and for in the beginning he's enjoying it, and then he notices that a number of the kobolds in the room beyond have begun looking into through the open door, and he's like, "Vic is great protector, appreciates. Vic is good.
Mom, just drop me at the corner. I don't want to see anybody to see you with me.
Vic is strong here."
Quinn will bow to him and then back away.
Quinn, give me a perception check.
With advantage.
Sure. With advantage. So the blue sash or whatever it is looks like it's a tabard of some sort that's been folded over, and you can see bits of what looks like golden thread that's well worn and old. This is not new. This is something that obviously a found piece of material, and was originally designed for a human. He's got it wrapped and tied in weird ways, but you get the sense that it was a tabard of some sort.
Vic, where did the blue sash come from? It's beautiful.
He kind of touches it for a second. Found it among other old master things.
Do you think I could take a look at it sometime?
Vic wears.
I understand, but some of your old master things have been very curious. And they might give us clues about the people who took Constance, because the people who came to our house were looking for your old master's things.
Not surprised.
You know what they took?
No, but they went into old master's secret space in the downstairs. Master's friends would secret friend things there. Vic was never allowed. Vic followed old master once to this place. Old master was not happy. Said Vic should never come back over his dead body. Old master dead body now. Vic come if he wants.
True enough.
But more. And he kind of turns and points back to the door and then looks over to Amarin and Casey and Leonidas and says, "He can stay Vic bed as long as he need."
That's very kind, Vic. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic.
And Vic comes back out the door and kind of tugs at Quinn to follow. And he comes back to the center. You pass through, like, as soon as you come out there and kind of failing to stand there, there's just a increasing number of kobolds that keep coming out of the woodwork. You see eyes and little necks pointing around, peeking around corners. This chamber was, you can tell the stonework is actually really well done. And once upon a time, it probably was a place of some importance to at least have this, but also definitely a secret place. And this is a structure beneath Baldur's Gate and used for who knows what ends. The walls themselves are finely fit stone, crafted by a skilled mason. You can tell that at a glance. They're covered as well as the floor and almost every imaginable surface with a absolute chaotic network of ropes and boards and anything else that could be found to build multi-tiered nests and living spaces. There's a little area in a corner with a cook pot where they're in the process of boiling what looks to be some kind of stew. The smell coming off of it isn't entirely unpleasant, but it looks large enough to feed a number of them. And you see off um, in the corner nearby what looks to be the remains of half of a cow, and something of what looks to be their larder. There's a number of things piled up there that are foodstuffs. Some of them very obviously spoiled already, but it's all meat and vegetables and the edible things. But
Where are they getting their water from? Like, is there a fountain or something?
um, as you as he leads you down into the largest chamber of the lot, this looks like it once upon a time um, was a chapel or a cathedral or some kind of place of worship. There are a number of icons on the walls that are carved into the stone that have the round shield with the eye in the center of it and what looks to be decorative diamonds, the shapes of diamonds around it in a geometric pattern that is consistent across them. Um, you now looking at some of the other construction that's happened, there were obviously once upon a time a series of pews that were here that have all been broken up and turned into part of the kobold's living arrangement. But there is at the back end of it a small, what looks like was decorative fountain that is bringing what seems to be fresh water up from the bottom there. Um, but more importantly, he leads you down towards a space on the wall, the far wall over here at the back of the chambers, and there's something of not quite a shrine, but an alcove that has some importance that you really can't tell because it's been kind of trashed. But what you do see there is in the front, hanging there is an actual shield, a golden shield bearing the same iconography of the eye in the center and the diamonds. Um, More importantly, it seems to have names engraved upon it. Um, on the sides are a couple things that are hung drape like, some of them rotted, some of them not so much. One, there's another blue tabard that is hanging there, which as you kind of reach up and look and pull to the side of it, has the embroidered same symbol, the shield with the eye. And kind of glancing at Vic, he's using another one of these tabards as his robes of state, as it were.
Elian, do you recognize any of these symbols?
See? Does the feeling recognize?
You didn't recognize the symbol before. It is the same one that you saw up
Okay.
in Godswind's Manor. The difference
Yeah, I
is
wasn't there.
you weren't there. No, that's why I'm answering George here. Um, this one obviously is a lot more elaborate. This shield is, you recognize this Athalion from your some of the, especially with the Lord's Alliance. This reads very much like um, a um, when certain groups like the Lord's Alliance or the Harpers or some of especially political organizations in large cities, they have like a I won't say secret society, but that kind of sense of like a brotherhood or a group of powerful people. Like this feels very much akin to that kind of thing. This is a place of meeting, a secret place of meeting, and you would guess that this icon here, this specific one with all the ornamentation and specifically the names upon it, this is potentially either a charter or some kind of roster or indication of leadership.
Can I read the names? Are they in common?
They are in common. There's about a dozen on there, and most of them are not familiar to you, but two of them do stand out. One
I'm
of
gonna.
them is Gerald Godswin.
And the
Another
other?
Belen Stelman, the fourth Duke of Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. So he knew about this place.
She.
She. That's not who that was. I'm going to take down all of the names.
Okay.
Like just pull out some parchment. You can send them to me later if you want.
Sure.
But I'm going to take note of that. Is the shield golden or is it gold?
Give me an inspection. Investigation check. It seems to be, from what you can tell, gold plated. It is it is a metal shield to be sure, but the thin layer of gold is a beaten decorative element as opposed to being made of solid
Right.
gold.
You know what? I'm just going to take the shield. I'm going to put it in my bag of holding.
It is currently affixed to the wall. Though it's cement. It is part of the shrine.
I'm strong.
You want to try and rip it free? You
Yeah.
could break it.
Well, I've got the names.
Okay.
And I mean, they're not using this place anymore.
Okay.
If it's a metal shield, I'm thinking that the concrete will break before the metal does.
Yeah, possibly. Go ahead and give me a strength check.
Okay.
Oh, this will be fun to watch.
As Quinn steps up and puts her gauntleted hands on the sides of the shield and then begins to pull. All right. There's a resistance, and you hear kind of cracking and crumbling of old concrete, and then with a you yank it sideways and twist it, and you hear a snapping sound, and the shield comes free.
Right. I'll stash that.
All right.
Are you looking to do anything with that?
Well, it might come in handy at some point. They need to figure out what Godswind and his friends were up to. And if this is basically written evidence that certain people belong to this group, and if we can match this symbol up with something else, could be proof of something. I don't know. It's not seeing the light of day down here.
I suppose.
I mean, why else have a bag of holding if not to just take everything with you?
Take all
Can't
the
argue
things.
there.
As the Athelian and Quinn are with Vic at the center there, Casey looks back up at Amarin, now kind of free of the apparatus, and he dares to sit up a little bit if Leonidas gives him the room to, and he looks at all of you and says, I they came into the house from secret tunnels below, and I heard Constance scream from the kitchen. I came running, and they had already had her in, and the other tiefling, he was telling his master the thing. He was telling him that he wanted her. He was claiming her. And I swear, Rin, that thing, it didn't have a mouth. It didn't speak, but I heard it. I heard it in my head. And its voice was so... I'm going to have nightmares, Rin, for the rest of my days for that voice.
It's okay. You gave us a lot of good information. Like I said, we're going to track them down. We followed your tracks and her tracks down here, and we know which direction they went, and we'll keep tracking them to find her and get her back for you. But like I said, what you need to do now is worry about getting better. How are you feeling now?
Oh, a little shaky, but better than whatever that was. And he looks at the pile of things on the floor, and Roar, the other kobold, it says in Draconic, I spent a large amount of time and resources ensuring he was perfectly well taken care of. Of course he's better.
And we thank you very much.
And that he like, perhaps I will give you your space. I believe that my other companions are curious. I will go calm them while your friend, the protector, sees to whatever it is he's seeing. I would be delighted to show you around Amethyst Dragon if you would, or you wish to still speak with your friend. Either way, I am here, of course. I am the great caretaker. I am not the protector that your friend Vic Rule is, but I'm sure you noticed my handiwork in the protection around the tunnels leading to our home. I am a protector in my own way.
I did notice that. I don't think it would hurt for you to kind of show me around a bit. Casey, are you okay here?
He- I don't even know where here is, Rin, but I think so.
You're um, but once you're feeling better, Vic can lead you back up to the house if you feel safe there.
Of course. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure how long it'll take us to find Constance and bring her back, but that's what we'll be doing. But I think for now, if you're not feeling well enough to move, you can stay here and until you feel better, and then um, Vic can lead you back upstairs to the house. You're not far from the house. It's just you'd have to go through the tunnels and then back up.
Um, Roar looks at you and looks at Casey and then looks back and says, am I to understand that another one of your companions was taken by the Dark Masters?
It. I don't know what the Dark Masters are, but it was a man with a tentacle for a face and a tiefling man.
You're saying all that in Draconic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear an immediate bit of chittering and gasps and fear from outside the door, where a number of kobolds have been like trying to sneak up and listen and put their eyes around the corner, and they all kind of scatter, and you see Roar's face pale a little bit, and he shakes his head and says, "Uh, that is a fool's errand to attempt to rescue. If she has been taken, then you should just accept your loss and move on."
That's not how we operate. We don't
He-
leave our people behind.
You can just make more, right? And he looks back at the kobolds. We escaped with only a few of us, but we have been multiplying as we do, and the pack is doing quite well once again.
It's not about the number of people, it's about the specific people. We care about Constance. She's special to us, and we want that specific member of our group back with us.
I see. Well, all right. And you can see that he's kind of like doesn't know what to say. It's a I think you're fucked kind of expression on his face, but he nods a little bit and says, um, I would be delighted in the meanwhile to, and he reaches his hand out again towards her.
Yep, I would love for you to show me around and show me some of your more of your handiwork that we've already seen a bit of.
Right. And so he grabs Emran's hand and begins to walk ahead of her and leads her to the door. The kobolds at the entrance part and scatter again to the sides, as he leads Emran back out and then towards the main room that Quinn and Vic and Athalion are in, but he leads her towards the other side.
Does it look like Amron's picked up an admirer?
Give me an insight check.
18.
There's a fascination there, to be sure. It doesn't look like any kind of romantic interest
Okay.
that you can tell, but just from the vibe you're getting off of it, but he's interested in her for some reason.
Okay. Thank you.
And it might entirely be just the fact that she's speaking Draconic.
Right.
But who knows? Casey looks back over to Leonidas and Halvar and Lank, who are still in, or Lannis. He's like, I don't recognize.
That's Link.
Oh,
His,
Casey, you don't know.
his eyes go a bit wide. Mr. Lancaster, what happened to you?
Lannis
You've
just
got
laughs.
boobs.
That I do. Good observation.
And you're pretty.
Oh, well, thank you. And if
I
it's
mean-
any consolation to you, not to change the
Before.
subject, but I have voices in my head as well, and you learn to live with them.
He kind of shudders for a second and then says, "No, like this,
Not quite the same, but
Miss Lank. That's so weird." He just stops for a second, he doesn't know what to say.
Miss Lang.
He looks at Leonidas and says, uh, "I never seen anything like it. He floated off the floor. He was tall and thin, thinner than anyone I ever seen. But his head was like a giant purple octopus sitting on the top with all its wiggly bits in the front. And they moved when he talked, but he didn't talk. There was no mouth. He just spoke in everyone's heads."
That sounds very disturbing.
Casey, did you happen to see what the intruders took from the secret place in the house?
They took something
Yeah.
besides Constance.
Yes, apparently they took something that was concealed in the house that even we didn't know about.
I didn't see anything, Mr. Halvar. I'm sorry.
No problem. I thought it would be a long shot, but I thought I would just check.
He looks over at Leonidas and says, "Are they doing horrible things to her, Mr. Leonidas?"
I don't know. But we're going to do everything we can to get her back.
Promise me.
I promise.
And he kind of closes his eyes and leans back again. "I know you keep your promises, Mr. Leonidas."
She's one of us. Like you are. And he pats Casey on the shoulder.
Athalion and Quinn, you see Amarin being led by the hand by the strange kobold inventor who walks her over to one of the alcoves in the side at the top here. And you can see that this entire section of the back has been kind of walled off into what, for all intents and purposes, looks to be a workshop of some sort. And there is, as Amron, as you're led towards it, there is all variety of incredibly dangerous looking things, sharp things, pointy things, things in vials, things in glass containers, fluid that looks like it might be oil, fluid that looks like it might be something worse. There is in a cage what a 3 foot long salamander looking like creature that is rattling and bouncing against the bars and doing circles in it, and as it gets agitated as Roar walks in and bangs on the side of the bars with a stick that he picks up. No, 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 no. Throws it down and then looks back at you and says, "My dear, this is my workshop. As you can see, I have a great variety of wonderfully sharp and ingenious ways to kill people.
Ah, very impressive. What's your favorite?
Killing people.
But what's your favorite method? See, my favorite is this sword.
But it's just one. And he turns over and he pulls aside a bit of cloth. And there is what looks to be what at one time was some kind of cylinder or wheel that has a series of daggers that have been plunged through it with a wound rope that he then pulls. And like a lawnmower, it begins to spin in place in a whirling little barrage of death that spins for a good 30 seconds before coming still again. And he's like, do you want to see what happens when I put a rat in it?
No, that's okay. I get the visual. I do something similar with my two blades. I just use my arms to get the spinning effect.
That seems like a great amount of work.
Yeah, it is, but it's fun and satisfying.
Uh, Tell me, did you all come down the tunnel?
Uh, we did.
Did anyone get singed?
We narrowly avoided it. And we did
Ah,
set it off, but he jumped back before he actually got burned.
I'll have to reset it then. You are the Protector's friend, so I have to assume that you are quite capable. He
Yeah.
has talked to us of you and of your greatness. So it is good to meet you all and to know that you are above us, protecting us and feeding us as Vic protects us here below.
Well, and I'm glad to know that you are below us, keeping this area safe as well. We're, happy to be neighbors.
And he smiles a little draconic smile, and then let me show you this one. It's explosive. And
Oh,
we'll,
well, yeah.
we'll
Okay.
cut away from that as we go back over to Quinn and Athalion as Vic watches Quinn yank the shield off the wall and then says, "Mm, old master wouldn't have liked that."
Well, he's dead.
Yes, he is.
Mhm.
And he spits on the ground.
So, Vic, do you know where, when we found the entrance to this area, there were other tracks that kept going? Do you know where they go or where they're headed towards? Is there anything further down that way?
Vic kind of leans in a little conspiratorially, lowering his voice because again, there are now a dozen or so kobolds who are kind of meandering about and pretending not to listen, but trying to listen and looking and being very curious. There are some hanging from hammocks above. You're surrounded by the little dragon people, and it's a bit disconcerting because it feels like a bit of a nest. But they're not biting or attacking or anything. Uh, and Vic continues speaking in common. They went through the sores and then down a way Vic had never seen before. I think they're from the Dark Master's domain, from the city below.
There's a city below Baldur's Gate?
I know.
Is that where you come from, Vic?
No, Vic has never been there, but Vic people, and he looks around at the other kobolds who are here. They escape. They come up looking for safety, for home. Vic find them when doing Vic things. And they hurt. They done bad things to them. Vic know this place empty now. Vic, bring them here, give them home. Bring
Very
them
good of
food.
you, Vic.
You
Very
give
good of you.
Quinn, give Vic money to feed.
Yeah. But you guys you're going to outgrow this space quickly. What's going to happen then?
Vic kind of looks shiftily from side to side and then shrugs.
You know that the people in Baldur's Gate probably won't let the kobolds up top.
Will kill us. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Vic
Be
have
very
job.
careful.
Vic
Well,
respectable.
yes, you are not. You are a very special kobold.
He puffs up his chest a little bit, and you can see him straighten the tabard. Vic protector.
And you do a really good job.
He looks at you and says, Vic, no word for Dark Masters.
What's word?
Vic here, them called Mind Flare.
Mind flayer. I ever heard of a mind flayer? Like even in like nasty.
Give me a nature check. It'd be the closest thing you'd have education wise to. Okay. You know that there's a type of aberration that is mostly in the Underdark. You don't know very much about them, but the words Mind Flayer and the description of the tentacle heads kind of puts two and two a little together for you. And you know that they're a race from the Underdark. You know that um, they're in the same category as Drow in terms of big evils down below. But really beyond that, and knowing that um, they're horrible creatures, that's really the extent of all you can remember.
Well, that's quite the word, Vic. Um, those are a nightmare. Absolutely. Do you think you can show us to the entrance where they go down?
Vic looks really uncertain and then looks back around the room and then says, Vic can ask one of Pack to show some of way. They will not go back, and Vic has never been down below.
That's okay. That's all right. But if that's our best lead into where Constance is.
This
Mm,
this place below, Vic. What do your people call it? This city below.
He says something in Draconic. It sounds like a proper name, but it's unpronounceable in common.
what little I've heard of mind flayers is that they come from the same place as the Drow, the Underdark. I mean, we learned a bit about the Drow when we went to Silvery Moon. I didn't like it much of what we. It seems like a lot of people are trying to escape and come up from there.
Vic,
It sounds like a terrible place.
Vic says, many slaves, many thralls, kobold slaves, kobolds bred and killed, not suitable for other needs, worked, build, dig, eat, die.
Building anything specific?
Vic doesn't know.
We should catch up with the others.
All right. Okay, Vic, take you back. And he turns and begins to walk back towards the front. Around this time, Amarin, you have been shown an absolute variety of ways to hurt and maim people that have, on one hand, you find somewhat inspirational. On the other hand, absolutely horrifying. Like things, there's your kind of your mind. Like I would just stab them until they die. Right? That is the proper way to do this. You stab a body or you cut a body and it dies. Right? What Roar has shown you are a horrible assortment of ways to burn, flay, and melt people. And it's
Yeah.
it's admirable but incredibly ooky.
Yeah, so he's like a serial killer.
He's like a mad scientist.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, this has been very enlightening. You have some very creative and inventive tools down here.
He holds up a hand. One moment, actually, and he runs back over and he puts his hand into a pile of stuff and rummages around and he pulls out this kind of squishy bladder thing that may have been an organ at one point, but is now being used as what looks to be a flask, as it has a cap and a tie on the top of it. And he offers it to you and says, "Here, put this on your blade and light it on fire."
What?
You put this on your blade and you light it on fire.
What's it do?
It sets things on fire.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
when you hit them, they not only scream from the cut, they also burn from the inside out.
Cool. Sounds fun. Thanks.
You take it, and it's just this squishy, like literally, like it's like a natural hide canteen, but if someone had actually just like removed a gallbladder or something and put a cap on it and hollowed it out and filled it with shit, it is all kinds of nasty. And it doesn't smell great, but hey, you can put cobalt fire gel on your list.
Okay, cool. I will add
Nice.
that. Oh God, that's funny.
Um,
Alrighty.
and he says, and then at that point, you see your friends walking back up with Vic, and it provides you a convenient excuse to step away from this hall of nightmares. So as he's, oh, of course, your friends, and you know begins to escort you back over with Vic. And as he walks, Amron, give me a perception check.
24.
So as you're walking and he's kind of leading you back, you glance around at the other kobolds nearby, and you get the oddest sense that he's claimed you somehow. Like there's some kind of connection there that wasn't there, that the other kobolds are recognizing. Not necessarily you, and he's not demonstrating anything, but the other kobolds are having this reaction that makes that there's now a connection between you and Roar.
Okay. Oh, I wonder if me taking a gift did something. Okay. All right.
But he leads you back up to the main room, and all of you and your friends once again kind of gather in what is obviously the protector's chamber, this bedroom uh, that Vic has claimed as his own. And Casey is lying with his eyes closed, his breathing more regular, but he's very obviously. There were a number of broken bones. He had a number of injuries. The healing, the massive amount of healing that Leonidas has poured into him has done him much good and potentially undone some of the harm that the kobolds did to him in trying to patch him up. But there's also a good chance that he only survived because of the harm the kobolds did. Really hard to tell. There were nothing but good intentions there, obviously, but Frankensteins be Frankensteins. But as Vic leads you all back into the room, he looks at you and says, "Kept Casey alive. Best Vic could do. What now?"
Thank you, Vic. Now we go save Constance.
He nods. Okay. Vic can find, guide, take us as far as willing. Not very far.
That's all right, Vic. Anything you can do to show us the right direction would be appreciated.
The kobold nods a little bit and says, "Vic, be back," and leaves you all in the room for a moment alone. Rar has also, once he brought Amarin back here, has gone back and is now kind of tending to other people. As you see him walk off, he's kind of puffed up a little bit with his wooden and sackcloth wings are kind of flapping around behind him as he happily shakes his way across the room and back down into the lower chamber. You guys close the door behind you and for the moment have privacy.
So we're going to go underground. Vic mentioned the word that he overheard in reference to the tentacly creature and that it was a mind flayer.
All
I've
right.
only heard horrible nightmare things about mind flayers.
The name itself is frightening.
I would say at that Athelion hasn't been down beneath. I'm trying to think. Nobody here has a lot of experience anything with the Underdark. But
Would that have
hard?
would the word mind flayer have triggered something for Leonidas?
Give me one more history check. We'll give you a shot.
Okay. Oh, 14.
So not specifically. You do know. Well, no, I'm gonna there. It doesn't really trigger anything.
Okay.
Not for you.
Yeah.
But it's one of those situations where it's tickling the back of your mind. This is kind of one of those. It sounds like something out of a bad fairy tale or a horror story. Athalion, you kind of have a similar thing. Like there may have been a story or something in the old library of your family that may have mentioned that it's 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 familiar, but you can't really recall anything. It's one of those things where perhaps with a little bit of research, a little bit of digging, you might be able to get more information. But it does feel like something that's out there as opposed to a proper name.
I know we're going to go because, it's Constance and we're not going to leave her behind. But I just want to say I'm not terribly keen on going deep, dark, underground, and drow terrify me and whatever this mind flayer thing is. Is there anything anyone can think of that we can do to prepare for this, or are we just going to go?
You
I
really
don't
don't
I
know
don't
what we're up against.
I don't know what we're going into. I mean, mind flayer sounds like something that will mess with your mind.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Do we need to do some research on the Underdark and mind flayers before we go down, or are we on a time constraint? I mean, he wanted her, but he wanted her for what?
Yeah, we don't know
Well,
how much time we have.
Yeah, we don't know
tea-
how much time we have. Yeah.
Yeah, and the tiefling wanted her, not the mind flayer. So it sounded like he just kind of wanted her for like
Right.
probably not anything major, probably for
Plaything.
yeah. So for that reason, I would want to go quickly and get her out of that situation.
Well, then I guess we go.
And I like I said, I don't know what we would really be able to do differently to prepare. I would say do whatever you can to protect yourself mentally. Is my best guess, but I mean, I don't have any kind of magics to protect myself in that way. I wouldn't change my methods. I don't know what the spellcasters would do differently.
Lannis turns to Leonidas. Well, we have our paladin back. That's a good thing.
Yes, one of these days, I
Protector from
guess,
evil.
when we have some time, I'd like to hear about what transpired while you were away.
Sure, we'll have time to talk about it.
We survived, of course.
We helped save all the hidden flying cities in the south.
Hidden flying cities.
Yep.
Excellent. Good job.
We got to fly an airship.
Closed
That's
another portal and stopped a horrible god creature from breaching through. So just a normal.
Yeah,
Normal.
Brought
another
Yeah,
day
just
for
mountain
Circulus
crumbling
Vitae.
down. Yes.
Exactly.
yeah, normal stuff for us.
Quinn is going to recast Find Familiar to bring in a bat instead of a tit.
Okay. So Quinn pauses for a second and then begins speaking words, and Tat on her shoulder begins to fade and dissolve into a haze. And that haze kind of floats for a moment and then darkens. And then there's a flapping of leathery wings as a small cave bat now tries to catch its balance and find roost on her shoulder. It stops, its wings splayed out over her shoulder armor, and it cocks its little head and its little squished nose, kind of sniffing the air near her.
I'll use a little bit of druidcraft on the top of my staff to give it a little peg that it can hang from.
One of the Quaddle's wings works as well.
That's fine.
Yeah, you can't actually modify an artifact weapon. So,
Oh, okay. Well,
but the Quaddle's wings is the bat. You take it and you put it up, and it
give
hooks
him a
its
hanging spot.
little feet around one of the wings and just hangs there. Be careful how quickly you whip that thing around.
Well, yes. Give him scritches, and yeah, I think I'm ready.
All right. Oh,
You're going now. Excellent.
Unless you want to
I'm
sleep
not the
here.
No,
We don't even get to
Can't-
sleep in our own beds tonight.
we just got here, and all of a sudden we're back in
Well,
some
welcome
other
to
hellhole.
Circulus Vitae, Athelian.
It's not
Yeah.
even mid-afternoon. I mean, we could try and catch sleep before we go, but I mean, it's not like we're wasting daylight.
Don't see light where we're going, so
your choice, Circulus Vitae. As Vic comes back to the door and puts his head in and says, "Vic has one brave one that will show when ready.
What's his name?
His name." "What name?" He asks back over his shoulder, and there's something that's a response in Draconic, but sounds like a proper noun, and it's very hard to pronounce, but you get out of it black, like BLK, black.
Okay.
if it wasn't for Constance being missing, I'd say we spend the night. But
I vote for leaving it once.
Yes.
Yeah,
This-
let's go.
Go now. Okay. And he says the full name back over his shoulder. And you see another kobold come forward. It's almost impossible to tell kobold gender. So it is completely without any kind of clothing or adornment. But you do see a series of really wicked scars across its back. That not sure what was done to it, but it was brutal. And it walks up and kind of cocks its head next to Vic, and Vic looks at you and says, "He will show."
Okay.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you, Black.
And it looks at you, at Halvar's making noises, and then looks back over to Vic, and Vic
Uh,
says back
I'll
okay.
yeah, I'll look at it and say, in Draconic, lead the way, please.
And Black says, in Draconic back says, "You will kill the old masters."
That is what we plan to do, yes.
"I will show you the way. Kill all of them."
We will do that for you. Thank you for your help.
And he turns and looks at Vic and nods, and then begins to make his way back to the front here. Circulus Vitae gathers around. Casey kind of groggily looks up. "You're going."
Yes, we're going now, but we're going to get Constance back for you. We're going to kill the men that took her, the creatures that took her. We're going to bring her back to you. You just worry about feeling better.
"Bring her back to me, Rin, please."
Trust me, I know what it feels like to be separated from the person that you care most about. So I'll do this for you.
Closes his eyes, and you see a bit of water at the edge of them as he lays his head back down and loses consciousness. Circulus Vitae follow Vic and Bleck as they make their way back into the main chamber. You see a lot of the kobolds have now kind of gathered around and are watching this procession of humanoids, with Vic the protector in the lead and their guide Bleck, as they kind of make their way up and then start climbing the stairs and heading to the main exit. He doesn't take you to the side tunnel. He leads you up the stairs, and then the second flight, there's a long set of stairs that are well made. They go up to what looks to be a flat expanse of wall up ahead. And there's a snuffing of, as they go, Vic snuffs the torches that are near the entrance, leads you to the wall, and places his hand into a hidden crevice. And there's a bit of scratching of stone, his little claws reaching for something that is possibly larger than what his hand was made for. But he gets his fingers around it, and there's a dragging click sound and then a grinding noise. As the wall separates wide enough for a human to pass through easily. The smell of the sewer beyond descends into the staircase tunnel, and quickly Vic leads you all out into the sewers of Baldur's Gate. The door closing behind you quickly as another one of the kobolds triggers the mechanism from inside. And with the finality of the stone closing behind you, Circulus Vitae stands in the underground sewers of Baldur's Gate as Vic and his companion, without light, begin leading you down the side tunnel that you are now in, the drip of water into stagnant pools. Most of you making your way in the dim light that's cast from small bits of open grate far above, far spaced, and some natural bioluminescence. The group travels into the stench and the dark and the wet of the sewers of Baldur's Gate. And that's where we'll leave things tonight.